At this point, the architect lost his train of thought. "Where was I?" he asked. Hughes reminded him that he had been complaining about how the Jews had got hold of everything before the war. "Oh yes, that was it," the architect said. Of course, that was no way to settle the Jewish problem, but there was a problem, and it had to be settled some way. Hughes left the architect's house shortly after midnight, but this conversation stayed with him. After returning to North America, he described it in a lecture at McGill University in Montreal. 14 years later, in 1962, a version of the lecture appeared in the journal Social Problems. By this point, numerous theories had emerged to explain the procession of horrors that had unfolded under the Nazis and culminated in genocide: the existence of a uniquely German authoritarian personality, the fanaticism of Adolf Hitler. Hughes focused on another factor that implicated people who were anything but fanatics, and that was hardly unique to Germany. The perpetrators who carried out the ghastly crimes under Hitler were not acting solely at the behest of the Führer, he argued. They were agents of good people, like the architect, who refrained from asking too many questions about the persecution of the Jews because, at some level, they were not entirely displeased. Holocaust, Judeocide, various terms had been used to describe the Nazi campaign to exterminate the Jews. Hughes chose a more prosaic expression. He called it dirty work, a term that connoted something foul and unpleasant, but not wholly unappreciated by the more respectable elements in society. Ridding Germany of inferior races was not unwelcome even among educated people who were not committed Nazis, Hughes concluded from the architect's reflections on the Jewish problem, variations of which surfaced in other conversations he had while in Frankfurt. Having disassociated himself clearly from these people, and having declared them a problem, he apparently was willing to let someone else do to them the dirty work which he himself would not do, and for which he expressed shame. Hughes wrote of the architect. This was the nature of dirty work, as Hughes conceived of it: unethical activity that was delegated to certain agents and then conveniently disavowed. Far from rogue actors, the perpetrators to whom this work was allotted had an unconscious mandate from society. In recent years, a growing body of evidence has confirmed that the Nazis did manage to secure such a mandate. As the historian Robert Galately shows in his 2001 book, Backing Hitler, the violent campaigns against Jews and other undesirables were hardly a secret to ordinary Germans who knew about, and not infrequently lent assistance to, the drive for racial purification. In this sense, Hughes's article in Social Problems, titled Good People and Dirty Work, was prescient. But as Hughes took pains to emphasize, he had not published his essay to establish this. I do not revive the case of the Nazi Endlösung, final solution of the Jewish problem, in order to condemn the Germans, he wrote, but to recall to our attention dangers which lurk in our midst always. Raised in a small town in rural Ohio, Hughes had witnessed some of these dangers up close. He was the son of a Methodist minister whose commitment to racial tolerance won him no love from the Ku Klux Klan, which, one night, dispatched some of its white-robed emissaries to the Hughes household to burn a cross on the family lawn. The experience imbued Hughes with an awareness of the darker currents that ran through his own society, and with a lifelong aversion to chauvinism of any kind. A skeptic who recoiled from the jingoism of the Cold War, Hughes had little patience for the notion that America was an exceptional nation immune to the moral lapses that befell other countries. After his essay on dirty work was published, the sociologist Arnold Rose wrote to Social Problems to complain that Hughes had understated the uniquely murderous nature of Nazi racial ideology. In response, Hughes emphasized, again, that he hadn't written it with the German experience foremost in mind. My essay was addressed to North Americans, to put us, and especially the people of the USA, on guard against